Welcome to my little cabin. It is a small 10 by 10 and it is very cozy but also cluttered on the inside. So I thought I would, as requested for people in my comments, go around inside the cabin and just do a detailed kind of overview of everything I have. I have a lot of vintage or even antiques that are hundreds of years old that I use on a daily every time I come here. So I'm sure some people are interested. So let's head inside. It is freezing out here. I don't have my gloves. Inside it is nice and cozy. The fire's been running now for a few hours, so it's actually pretty nice in there. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing. For those of you that are returning viewers and have been watching for a few years, you'll know that I like to have stuff that is, I call it period correct, which is the correct time period for me that I wanted to build this cabin around would be like the mid 1800s to the mid 1900s. So like there's some stuff from the 1940s and 50s all the way to like 1860s. So I have a wide range of stuff. I try to keep it in the same theme. I want like the least new stuff as possible. The more handmade stuff, the better. The older, the more vintage, antique, call it whatever. You guys will get the theme. But I do not want plastic here at all. I think plastic is just, it's overused. It's gross. I don't like it. Wood, metal, it's natural. It's biodegradable. I think it was much better also build quality back in the days. But you'll guys see as I go around. I have some new stuff that sometimes it's just decorations and it's rarely stuff that I actually use. But for example, I'll start off just with whatever I have in front of me and we'll keep going around the cabin. You guys can see here, this is a genuine antique. It is not a reproduction. It is a reflector lantern that I tried to polish the reflector just a tad bit. But yeah, it is a kerosene lantern. These were hung on the outside of the houses or barns, or even, in living rooms or smaller rooms that you wanted some light to be projected. Yeah, this is the just 19th century spotlight. The light doesn't go very far, but it's projected pretty wide, I would say. Here's what it looks like when it's lit. You can see the reflector. If I put my hand in front of it, you can see my hand. It's actually giving off a nice amount of light. And you could also direct the light where you want it. So I think it's pretty much ahead of its time. You could hang them on the wall, from the ceiling, wherever. Super sweet little design. I have two of these, and these were quite expensive since they are actually original pieces. There is a date on the back of the reflector, and I believe it's like the start of the 1800s. So yeah, these are quite old. I know the patent doesn't necessarily mean when they were made, but just to give you guys an idea, they are very old. Start with this sidewall. I know I have a lot of stuff on this one, but yeah, controversial opinions, but I usually get comments every video about some people that are unhappy about this wall, but whatever. I'm not sure if you guys can see this on the completely left side, but I have my lantern hanging. I'll go over that later. I have a large tin pan that I never use. I have this cool looking clock that I actually bought for cheap. It looks old, but it is actually brand new. And the batteries have died in it because it is minus 30 outside and it's freezing. So yeah, I usually swap out batteries every summer. This piece right here is a very old, I believe it's a charcoal print of, charcoal or pencil print, of elks and just ducks in a swamp, which is awesome. It is very old and I picked it up at like an antique store for not that expensive. On top of that, matching with the duck theme, is a completely destroyed, molested duck that the mice and the squirrel completely wrecked. This was my grandfather's and he gave it to me. He was getting rid of some stuff in the basement He's like, hey, if you want it. I'm like, heck yeah, I want it. So I brought it to the cabin, but the mice just completely destroyed it. It was very old. I might get rid of the duck, burn it or just throw it out, because it looks like a zombie duck. I've been calling it now for like 4 years. They just destroyed it. But yeah, the plaque is awesome, and also this little grass thing that's just there. The plaque is sweet and it's very vintage and it's cool to me. So yeah, I'll have to find something else to put there. So if you guys have any suggestions on what I could put on the plaque, let me know. At the bottom of everything, I have, to me, which I think is awesome, I've never seen one like it before. It's just a very small, it's a 3-foot crosscut saw. So I haven't really seen any smaller 2-person saws. Usually they're like 6 to 8 foot long, or they're shorter, like 2 feet to 3 feet, but only with one handle. So I saw it. It's also very old. You can see the forged welds on the handles and stuff. So I just picked that up. I think it's really cool. On the other side here, which some people aren't happy about, is a raccoon that the mice also had their way with. Sadly, I tanned that. I believe all the pelts and everything, I tanned them myself. But that one, it's I believe I brain tanned it. So go look that up if you don't know what it is. I'm not going to get into details, but yeah, I brain tanned it, and it turned out okay. It was my first brain tan I ever did on a pelt. And no, the raccoon, I didn't end its life. It was dead on the side of the road, and yeah, picked it up. So there's that. It looks like it actually looks like it got ran over a few times. It's pretty messed up. It used to be good, but the mice now are like, I don't know, ripping it up for some reason. I don't know why. Then beside that is a big Winchester thermometer that I got as a gift. It actually, I know somebody, I believe, left me a comment, thought that it was new or that it was old, but it's actually new. So it's not an antique, but it's actually, it's tin. Like I said, I try to stay away from plastics, but yeah, it keeps the temperature. It looks sweet. I love Winchester. You'll see there's a theme going on here. Most of my old rifles, I have an okay, decent collection. And yeah, most of them are Winchesters. Just a super cool brand with a just super awesome history to me. So yeah, moving on. Now for the kitchen corner. I have a bunch of cluttered stuff here because I actually am just throwing stuff around just because I want to get rid of this shelf table thing that I have. I'm going to take it down, and I'd actually love to have just a massive slab of wood there, and I have one in mind. It's like a 3-foot round piece. I'd love, like I said, take this down and kind of make a standard table with maybe 2 stools or just a chair. But yeah, I want to get rid of this. So whatever you see here isn't going to necessarily stay that way. But now for the old stuff. This little bread box here. Get the frame. But yeah, this little bread box. I've seen like 4 or 5 comments about it. I use it as storage, so I actually have bandit mix in here, some paper plates, like a fork, some salt, some spices. Every time you guys see me spice the steak or whatever, I take it out of here. The reason being, the squirrels and mice can't get in here because it's a closed little metal storage space, which is awesome. Which is actually, that's all I need in here is just, indestructible storage spaces. That's all I need. That don't take up a lot of room. So, yeah, this is actually, it's metal. It works just like an old one. It's, bright yellow. It says bread on it. It's awesome. But, yeah, it's actually not an antique. I got it, I believe, at like Michael's on special because everything there is like 5 times the price it should be. So I got it, I think, at like 70 or 80% off. And yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. Serves me well so far. Nothing's been demolished in it. So far in this corner, there's the bread box, which, like I said, not an antique. I have all my jars of nuts that I use. This one, it's an old mason jar. It's actually not an antique. It is a newer style one, but it has the little copper, the little copper openings. You guys see me eat out of this thing all the time. This one has trail mix with M&Ms. have some candles. I have this lantern that I believe I got at the dollar store, so it was like $2. I don't like it at all. It's just there to be there in case. I don't even remember if it's broken or not, but I just really don't like it. I have a mag for the 12 gauge on the floor, which I'll get to later. A candle. I have one of these of just enameled cups, and this is just a gift that somebody got me. So, you know, I used it to scoop up snow and such. But staying on my little table, I have this. Once again, the top is wood, but the rest is metal, obviously. But in here, I keep all my little, you know, the forks and the spoons, everything that I want to stay clean, I just leave it in here. Once again, the mice and squirrels don't get to it. Out of the way. Another lantern. Like I said, I have two of those vintage, awesome looking lanterns. Beside that, I have a teapot and some pots that I'll bring you guys up for a more of a closer look. So this here, it came with a kit of camping supplies from, I think, like the 40s, and very, very old Coleman. And, you know, this was in it. I thought it was cool because I always remember watching old shows and stuff, and, you know, the old men in the cabin would always have one of these little teapot, coffee pot things. So, yeah, I don't drink coffee, don't drink tea, but still very cool to have. I have a cup back there. That's new. And I also have, if you could focus, back there, an enameled pot that has chaga in it that, once again, looks old. It's metal, it's enameled, but it is new. So, yeah, like I said, I have a mix of both, new and old. This little coffee pot, on the other hand, is actually pretty old. I don't remember where I got it, but I know it was like $2 or $3, maybe a garage sale. But that is an old enameled classic blue with the white spots, just standard coffee pot that you see in like every 40s and 50s and 60s, just hunting videos and stuff. Every show has one of these. Very cool. Similar to my other very small one. Moving up on top of the bread box, I have this, you know, Western stoneware. These are pretty cool, made in Canada. And they are old, but not that old. I do, in fact, have a little collection of these, and I have some very old ones. But this one, I just like the design on it. I even put a cork in it just so nothing gets in there, and cut the cork to fit the roof. So yeah, it is in fact empty. You know, people call them whiskey jugs, moonshine jugs, but this one is empty. I will fill it up one day soon enough. Next to it is my little jewel jar. I have quite a few of these. These are awesome. I believe they range from the 60s all the way to like the very early 1900s. That is the predecessor to your standard good old mason jar. So yeah, very cool. Like, once again, this one has trail mix, but with no M&Ms. A mini mason jar, new mason jar that I always have my olive oil in, and a very old, once again, jewel jar with just your standard peanuts in it. So I try to keep snacks that will actually give me nutrients. You could see the theme here. I have trail mix, and peanuts, so high protein is always good. Below the little kitchen corner, there is a few things. First of all, hidden under the jacket, there is a Marlin goose gun. Very cheap. I think it's from the 70s or the 60s. It was a weird action to me. It was just a bolt action 12 gauge, so I got it. Long barrel, you know, it's in the name, goose gun, so it shoots pretty far. You can put some decent loads in there since it's not, you know, from the 1800s. It is a more modern, perfected steel, so yeah, cheap gun. Don't mind leaving it here. Over here, I have my fire starting box, I guess you could say, and a little mess kit that I usually eat out of. I have some not Tupperwares, but some, you know, canteen ware in there. And once again, just some, you know, an old whiskey crate that I probably paid like $5 at a flea market, or I believe this one I got it out of an old barn somewhere. So yeah. And that little mess kit, canteen kit thing is like, I believe it was my dad's, maybe, not sure, maybe, or I paid it like $2 at a flea market. And I keep my newspaper and my kindling in there. As for the fireplace itself, it is a very old fireplace. I want to say it's early 1900s because it was already on the land when I got here before I built the cabin. And all the little pots on the floor. So I have the first one there, which isn't supposed to be on the floor. It's supposed to be on my little chest there, which we'll get to shortly. But that's just a reindeer feed. Once again, Christmas section at Michael's. Got it like 3-4 years ago. Looks old, looks cool. Same story with the milk pot. The old milk pots these days are very hard to buy and find in good shape, and that haven't been absolutely destroyed by like paint and rust. So yeah, cool little things. And my pail behind there is, I believe it's like a Christmas tree farm. I got it at a local hardware store on special. Once again, I rarely ever buy anything that's full price. Now for the chest. You guys can see this thing has lived a pretty rough life. I'm not sure where it was before here, but I picked it up on the side of the road actually. And yeah, I went to go knock because it was just thrown on the side of the road. I'm like, you guys want to throw this out? And they're like, yeah. So I got the truck, picked it up, and yeah. It is very old. I did a little bit of research, so it's probably the mid to early 1900s. Once again, everything works. It is pretty beat up. I don't think it would have survived like a week outside. They would have just soaked up the water and gotten destroyed. But this is the biggest piece of storage that I have, and the squirrels and mice have yet to get in here. They could if they wanted to, but there's really nothing fancy in here. It's just my storage, pillows and blankets and stuff. So yeah, nothing important for them. From left to right, I have a bear that I get comments a lot on where I got it. Just got it on special at a hardware store. Again, I like Christmas, so I'm there pretty often. Christmas shopping for decorations and lights and stuff. So yeah, I picked that up end of season on special for like 10 or 15 bucks. I saw it again on special this year. I think it went up. It was like on special for 20 bucks. I have a cool looking general store storage box. Very cool to me. I think I got that at a greenhouse. It was like for planters and flowers and to make flower arrangements. Got that there 2 or 3 years ago. Once again, not old. Looks old, but it's not. So that's a style, you know, kind of going for. On top of that, I have the awesome Northern Woodsman plank that I got as a gift last year, I think, for Christmas, and it is super awesome. I love it. It's great. I always try to leave it on display and try not to break it. Yeah, beside that, just my little Christmas decoration and a big red pot that I'm trying to get rid of and bring it back home without exploding it from here to the car. So yeah, it's very big, very heavy, very red, and I don't have any machinery to bring it back, so I'm surely not going to carry it. On top of all that, it starts getting interesting. I have, hiding right back there, I have a small hatchet. Love it. It's very, very old, and I believe it's hand forged from what I know and my, you know, not very extensive knowledge about forging, but I've done a little bit myself, and that looks like it's been hand forged. It is old. It keeps an edge like no other. Got it for like 20 bucks 10 years ago, 12 years ago at a flea market. There's two. I should have took both of them, but yeah, I just got that one. Sadly, the other one disappeared into the abyss. Some other lucky soul has it. That is hanging on a big elk antler that, I don't know, it was given to me from somewhere. No idea where. There's no elks over here, but it looks cool, so I got it anyways. And in front of that, hanging in the middle of the cabin, which is, I believe, a super awesome piece. I actually did a video on it, restoring it. It wasn't very popular, but it I think it was like 2-3 years ago when I found it. It was all painted red and disgusting. This super awesome lantern. It was converted to an electric lantern, and I just added a small oil lantern on the inside. So yeah, it's complicated to turn on. You have to lift up the glass and everything, and it's like a separate wick that I did. I kind of made a makeshift lantern out of it, but yeah, it looks awesome. It's all tarnished and it's very, very old. It looks like the old lanterns in bars and saloons in the Wild West. So always wanted one. I saw that one. It was all disgusting. I bought it for, I think it was like $20, and restored it to its former glory. Looks a lot better than it did before. As for the snowshoes on the wall that I get questions about, they are bear paw snowshoes. I believe I have a bunch of snowshoes. These ones I believe are bear paws. The rounder ones I believe are otter paws or wolf paws, I'm not sure. But I think these are bear paws with the original, still in very good quality. Although I need to hydrate it with some little bit of needful oil. But yeah, original leather harness, rawhide and wood snowshoes, a classic. They look awesome hanging on the wall, but they're also super functional. I think since I have the cabin, I've used them like 2 or 3 times to go take a walk. But still awesome to have. And yeah, like I said, they look super sweet. Next to that, as you see here, I have some old traps. A very, very baby small one, and a decent size double spring fold. Yeah, never used them, but still, like I said, I wanted a hunter trapper style cabin, and that's what I tried my best to make. Last but not least is the shelf. I love it. It's sweet. It's one of the first ever pieces of furniture I did, even before the walls were up in the cabin. I knew the style that I wanted, so I made it look like an old shelf, and as you can see, it's just a clutter shelf. I hate it. It's all the modern stuff on there. It looks terrible. I liked some smaller containers on there. I actually bought some recently last week, so I'll try to tidy that up with smaller containers. But yeah, super awesome shelf. You can see I try my best. I tried to even use square nails as hangers and to solidify everything together, but I think it came out pretty sweet. One of the first, like I said, pieces of furniture that I did for the cabin. Under that, we have my lantern collection. I have a small lantern, and they're all green, so that's pretty cool. A small lantern that I actually use quite often. It doesn't put off that much light. That's why I used to use it, I should say. It's almost retired. It just hangs there, looks good. Beside that, this is an original. I got it at the same time as my lanterns from like the mid 1800s over there with the reflectors. This is a very, very first model of the Dietz oil lanterns, kind of like the one that's lit right now on the wall. This one right here. And this is probably from the 70s or even the 60s. It is an old Coleman white gas lantern. It's super loud when you start it, but it's also super bright. It's pretty much compressed gas. You have to pump it, and it puts off a lot of heat and light. So that's the main lantern I used when I was building the cabin. It's great when, obviously, there's no camera. You don't want good sound quality. But yeah, apart from that, I really love oil lanterns. But like I said, that one's pretty old. That one is very old. That one is from the 60s or 70s. And this one here is, I believe, a more modern style, but I paid it like $5 or $10 at the flea market. I was sure it's going to be more, but it's in pristine new condition, and the guy just wanted to get rid of it. I believe it's worth about around like $100 or $200, super expensive. And yeah, the guy apparently just sold it for cheap, wanted to get rid of it. So that's my short and sweet lantern collection, but I'm always looking for some cool antiques, so I never know what I'll find. Well, that pretty much marks the end of the video. If you guys have any questions or you want me to get something, you have questions about whatever I have in here, let me know. It's always appreciated and fun to read the comments of whatever you guys have to say. But yeah, like the video if you guys enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't enjoy it, and subscribe if you're new here, and consider looking at my other videos. I try to post as much as I can every Friday from 6 a.m. to noon. And I appreciate all you guys watching. So thanks for watching.